Most moms think they don't have enough time, but the real problem is not time. It's the hundreds of tiny decisions you're forced to make every single day. What's for dinner, when to do the laundry, what needs to happen today, and what can actually wait. Those little decisions steal hours from your week without you even realizing. So in this video, I'm going to show you the simple system that I use to run our home that removes most of the decisions, from meal planning in about 5 minutes to daily priorities to how I plan the entire week in about 30 minutes. And it's the exact system that I used to stop feeling like there was never enough time. If you're new here, I'm Erica, and I help exhausted moms get their energy back by making really small, like embarrassingly simple changes. No overwhelm needed. So if that sounds good to you, hit subscribe. When certain parts of my life are already decided, like what I'm cooking, what I'm doing laundry, what my routines look like, what actually matters to me today, my day goes so much smoother and I get so much done. So let's walk through the parts of the system that make that happen. The first one is my 5-minute meal planning system. One of the biggest hidden drains for moms is simply deciding what to cook over and over and over again. If you cook from scratch like I do, you know that feeling, like you just finished cooking supper and you're immediately thinking, okay, what am I going to cook next? Because it never ends. I used to spend an hour or two every week flipping through cookbooks or, scrolling Pinterest or just websites trying to find new recipes. And it felt productive, but honestly, it just took way too much time. What changed everything was switching to using a go-to meal list. So I keep this list of our family's favorite meals on our fridge. And these are the ones that we actually enjoy, that are fairly simple for me to cook and that fit our dietary needs. So every morning when I plan the week, I just look at the list, I pick 7 meals from it, and I write them on my little kitchen board, and that's it. It takes about 5 minutes. And for breakfast, we keep it even simpler. We eat the exact same thing almost every single day: eggs and oatmeal. Because when I removed that decision completely, it freed up so much mental energy for the rest of the day. The point of cooking at home is not to be this amazing chef that comes up with a brand new recipe every night. You can do that if you want. But the point is to nourish your family in a way that works for your life. So instead of constantly searching for new meal ideas, just build a list of 15 to 20 meals that your family actually enjoys and just rotate through them. When you remove the decision, meal planning just suddenly becomes way easier and less time consuming. And occasionally I will feel the desire to try something new, and if it checks the boxes, like my family likes it and it's pretty easy to prepare, it gets added to the list and it joins the rotation. But meals aren't the biggest time saver. The real shift happens when you stop deciding what to do all day and start using repeatable routines. When you're constantly deciding what to do next, it really drains your mental energy really quickly. As moms, we have so many little things to keep track of, right? Laundry, meals, kids' routines, appointments. And if all those things are just kind of floating around in our head, it can make the whole day feel really chaotic. What helped me so much was turning the things I do every day into repeatable routines. So instead of having a giant to-do list, I have a few routines that happen at the same time, roughly, every day. For example, I have a morning routine, my kids have a morning routine, we have a dinner routine, and the kids' bedtime routine. Once we created these routines, I put a master routine list on our fridge so that we could reference it as we were getting into those routines. And inside of those routines are all the little things that used to live on my to-do list. Things like starting the laundry, putting away yesterday's laundry, taking food scraps out to the chickens. Like things that need to happen every day anyway. Now they're just built into the routine, so I don't need to write them on my to-do list. Now this is the part that makes it actually work, is I put those routines in certain parts of the day in my planner. So, for example, in the morning block of my planner, it states morning routine, or MR for short. And I know exactly what that means. It means I drink a glass of water, start washing a load of laundry, start a fire in our wood stove if it's winter. I exercise or stretch depending on the day, make and eat breakfast with my kids, get myself ready for the day, put away yesterday's laundry, and hang up the load I started first thing in the morning. Then later in the day, I have the dinner routine, which includes making dinner, of course, having the kids tidy up before dinner, eating, cleaning up the food and the dishes, and sweeping. Instead of writing all those little tasks on a to-do list, I just see the routine and move through it. And of course, this is real life. So routines do get interrupted. Maybe the baby needs to nurse. That's what's happening right now. A toddler needs extra attention, or something unexpected comes up. That's completely normal. The routine isn't about everything happening perfectly. It's just a place for you to come back to once the interruption is over. When your daily tasks are packed into routines, you remove a huge amount of decision fatigue. Instead of constantly asking yourself, when am I going to do this? You already know it just happens during this certain routine. That simple shift alone can make your day feel much more organized and calm. Now, routines aren't just helpful for running a home. They're also one of the easiest ways to build healthy habits without needing extra time. So the next shift that makes a big difference is anchoring just one healthy habit into your routine. Now, this one might seem a little bit disconnected from the goal here of trying to make more time in your day, but it's actually one of the most important things that you can do. Because when your health improves, your energy improves, and when your energy improves, everything in your life gets easier and faster. A lot of moms feel exhausted all the time and they assume that's just normal, but honestly, it's really not. One of the biggest reasons moms feel that way is just because they're completely depleted. And when you're that tired, it's really hard to take action to help yourself feel better. The good news is that you don't have to take drastic changes to start to see improvements. What helped me was simply working on one healthy habit at a time and anchoring it into one of my routines. For example, in my morning routine, part of it is drinking one full glass of water. It's a tiny thing, but after sleeping all night without having any water, that hydration first thing in the morning actually makes a noticeable difference. And because it's attached to my morning routine, I don't have to remember it or think about it. It just happens. When you build just one small health habit inside of a routine, it slowly starts to improve your energy, your mental clarity, and your capacity to handle everything else in your life. And once that habit becomes automatic, like you don't even have to think about it anymore, then you can start working on the next small habit. Maybe a 5-minute stretch in the morning or a short walk after your lunch. Over time, those small habits really add up, and suddenly you have more energy, more focus, and more capacity for everything you're trying to do. And if you're wanting a little more guidance on where to start with those small habits, I actually have a free workshop in the description that walks you through that process. But even with routines and healthy habits in place, there's another thing that makes moms feel constantly behind. And that is trying to accomplish too many things in a single day. So the next shift that makes a huge difference is choosing just one real priority each day. What helped me a lot was deciding that every day had one main priority. Because my repeatable routines take care of a lot of those everyday tasks, my to-do list got so much smaller. So instead of having a long list of things that I hope to get to, I just decide what the most important thing is for that day. For example, Mondays are pretty predictable for me. I do my morning routine, we homeschool, and then my one priority for the day, other than the repeatable things, is meal planning for the week. I make the grocery list. I might, if I have time, prep a few things like chopping vegetables. And that's it. That's the one thing I'm focused on that day. Tuesdays, we usually go to homeschool sports group. So honestly, that's the only extra thing I plan that day. On Wednesdays, after we homeschool, I'll usually do a deeper clean of one area of the house. So other than those things, that one main priority each day, my days look very similar, and that's actually what makes them manageable. So focusing on one meaningful priority in a day removes that constant discouragement of having this long list, looking at it and realizing I'm never going to get it all done. Instead, you end the day knowing that you did that one thing It actually got done, and everything else you did is a bonus. Now, what really makes this work is when you decide those priorities ahead of time. And that's where the next habit comes in, which is spending about 30 minutes a week planning everything out. If you don't decide ahead of time what your week is going to look like, the week will decide for you, and that does not look pretty, as I'm sure you've experienced. Every Sunday evening, I spend about 30 minutes planning the week, and honestly, it's one of the most helpful habits we've built. My husband and I usually sit down together and we go through the whole week. It's actually a lot of fun, and it helps both of us know what's coming. We look at each day, the appointments, the activities, the social events, anything that's already scheduled. I have everything in my planner. He uses a notebook, so we can both see the week at a glance in our own way. Then, once I see what's already on my calendar, I start placing the things that matter most into the week. Things like my workouts, meal planning, a deeper clean of part of the house, family fun time, that weekly reset, when's it going to happen next week? Once those things are on the schedule, I can see where my one priority per day will be so that the important things don't get pushed to later. Spending that small amount of time at the beginning of the week removes so much stress later. Instead of constantly trying to figure out what needs to happen next, you already have a plan guiding your days. And that's what makes the routines and the one priority per day system actually work. But even with a plan in place, there's one small habit that can give you extra pockets of time almost every day, and most people completely overlook it. There are way more minutes in a day than we think. The key isn't filling them all with work, it's using the little pockets of time more intentionally, so you actually have time for rest and fun. As moms and homemakers, there are certain things we just have to do every day, right? We cook, we do laundry, we clean up the kitchen. But inside of those tasks, there's all these little waiting moments that often get wasted. And I am completely guilty of this too. Usually because of this little device right here, which I'll talk more about in a minute. But once you start noticing those tiny pockets of time and using them wisely, it really changes the game. For example, when I'm cooking dinner and I'm waiting for the water to come to a boil, I have a choice. I could grab my phone and scroll Facebook or check my email, or I could move on to the next thing. Maybe that means doing the next step of dinner prep, but maybe everything's already ready and you just have to wait for this pot to boil. I might start prepping tomorrow's dinner instead. Chopping vegetables, soaking beans, getting meat out of the freezer. The more you can prepare a meal ahead of time, the smoother and faster dinner comes together. Guaranteed. Another thing I do all the time is make really big batches of dinner and freeze extra portions. So I might cook 4 times in a week, but we're still eating home-cooked meals every night. And that takes almost no extra effort because I'm already making the meal. I just double the ingredients and freeze a couple containers for a future busy night. I have a freezer meal collection with all the recipes that I do this regularly with. So if you want some ideas for meals that freeze really well, I'll link that down below. It includes this really handy freezer meal tracker sheet that I personally use, and that's how I make sure things don't get forgotten and freezer burnt at the back of the freezer. When you start using these tiny pockets of time inside the tasks that you're already doing, you end up saving a surprising amount of time later. Instead of scrambling to get dinner together or clean the kitchen, right? Things are already partially done. So start looking for those micro moments during the day while something is cooking or while the laundry is running, while you're already in the kitchen, and ask yourself, what small thing could I do that will make the next task easier? And here's the one habit that is just quietly stealing pockets of time from us, I already mentioned, without us even realizing it, and that's what we need to talk about next. Definitely, probably the biggest time drain for moms is mindless scrolling. And the tricky part is that it really doesn't feel like much in the moment, right? It's just a few minutes, but those little minutes throughout the day add up. I actually really like my phone, and I enjoy the content that I consume on it because it doesn't own my time like it used to. There are so many inspiring and educational things online that I think moms should be listening to. We should be being influenced by people who encourage us to grow and enjoy life more, get new skills. The problem isn't the content necessarily, it's the mindless consumption of it. For me, the biggest shift was setting just a few clear boundaries. The first one is that I never just sit down to scroll, because I know exactly what will happen. I'll sit down just to scroll for a few minutes and suddenly a huge chunk of time is gone and I'm left feeling tired and kind of grumpy and guilty, like, why did I just do that again? I don't want to be that mom. So instead, I give myself intentional times to consume content. For example, I almost always watch a YouTube video while I'm washing the dishes because I'm already just standing in one spot and there's nothing to look at, especially when it's the middle of winter and it's pitch black outside. If I'm cooking dinner or something like that where I'm moving around a lot, I'll listen to a podcast. That way I still get to enjoy inspiring content, but it's not stealing from my time in the day. And if I notice that my kids are starting to struggle listening to me or they're needing more attention, I just turn it off. I've realized their behavior is often connected to when I'm distracted by media. And the other boundary I set for myself is no scrolling before bed. That one was hard because I used to think, yeah, I deserve to just sit here and be entertained after all I've done for my family all day. But it made my sleep worse and honestly it was just a complete waste of time when I could be reading a good book or stretching or actually connecting with my husband. So the goal isn't to completely avoid your phone, it's to use it intentionally so it adds something to your life instead of taking all your time and energy away from it. A few simple boundaries can free up a surprising amount of time and make you feel a lot better at the end of the day. But even after all these changes, there's one thing that can still make moms feel like there's never enough time: trying to do absolutely everything ourselves. So the next shift is learning to accept help when it's available. This one honestly has been very hard for me, even though it makes total sense to my logical brain. Why would I not accept help when it's offered? I think for me, it was partly pride. I wanted to be that woman that could just do everything on my own. And honestly, I do believe you can do everything you need to on your own if you are intentional. But if you do have help available, it can be such a gift to actually accept it. Last fall, my mother-in-law moved much closer to us, and she offered to watch the kids once a week so I could have a few focused hours to work on my business. Up until then, I was only working during naps and quiet time and after the kids went to bed. But when she offered, I had this weird feeling like I would be burdening her, even though I knew she absolutely loves being with her grandkids. I was resistant to take her up on it. And she reminded me of something really important. She said this arrangement was as much for her as it was for me. She wanted to be spending more time with the kids. She wanted to support what I was building. So I said yes, and it has been great. Just those couple extra hours each week have helped me get so much more done, and the kids get special time with their grandma. It's really a win for everyone. Now, I know not everyone has that option. I didn't for a long time either, and I know how blessed we are to have it. But if help is available in your life, whether it's family or a friend or even trading childcare with another mom, sometimes the best thing you can do is to simply accept it, because you don't have to do everything alone. And this actually connects to the final shift that makes all the others work, realizing that taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. At the end of the day, the biggest thing that's given me more time and capacity in my life has actually been improving my health. The better I started to feel, the more productive I became. I had more energy, I was more intentional with my time, and honestly, a lot more patient with my kids. And that's why I believe so strongly that when moms take small, intentional steps to improve their health, it gives them more capacity for everything that matters in their life. Because that's exactly what happened to me. I tried the drastic health change route before, the all or nothing, diet, trying to overhaul everything at once, and it just burned me out and eventually put me right back where I started. So instead, I started taking very doable small steps, one at a time. And over years of doing that consistently, it's added up to some pretty big changes. Now I lift weights 3 times a week. I can handle our off-grid life, hauling firewood with a baby on my back. I don't get that afternoon crash anymore. I feel strong, I feel energized. I'm able to handle everything around the homestead while my husband is away working for weeks at a time. Life just feels so much better when you feel good in your body. Because when you have energy, you're not slogging through the day, exhausted, moving slowly or trying to distract yourself from how crappy you feel. You actually have the energy and focus to use your time well. And the good news is, like I've said before, you don't have to make drastic changes. You don't have to overhaul your whole life at once in order to start feeling better. Small, consistent changes really do add up. When your health improves, your energy, clarity, and capacity improves too, which means you suddenly have more time and space for the things that matter most. So if you're a tired mom and you want to start feeling better, but you don't know where to start, check out my free workshop. In that, I walk you through the simple step-by-step approach that I used to build healthy habits without overwhelm. So I'll link that below. And if you want to know the first habit that I recommend every exhausted mom start with to get their energy back, watch this video next.